One of the most important things that you can do for prolapse is to improve your support system by training your pelvic floor muscles to be strong and healthy. Healthy pelvic floor muscles do the right thing at the right time. When you are moving around and when you're active and you're doing stuff, the pelvic floor muscles are active to help support your pelvic organs from below. When you do something that pushes down against your pelvic organs, like a cough or a sneeze or a jump, or you lift something heavy, those pelvic floor muscles activate even more to help to counteract that force so that they can help support the organs and help hold them in their place so they don't slide down. Something that a lot of people don't think about is that when you're relaxed and resting, the pelvic floor muscles are also relaxed and resting. When you go to urinate or have a bowel movement, those pelvic floor muscles need to soften and relax to allow those canals to open so that urine can pass through and so that stool can pass through and so that gas can pass through. The pelvic floor muscles are voluntary, which means they can be trained and strengthened. Pelvic floor muscle strength training can make these pelvic floor muscles, this hammock, they can make the pelvic floor muscles thicker, and they can also make the pelvic floor muscles shorter. So a lot of times that hammock gets stretched out, and by strengthening those pelvic floor muscles, we can help to shorten and lift and make it thicker. This pelvic floor muscle strength training can narrow the levator hiatus, and it can lift the position of the bladder and rectum. Let's do a quick review of what the levator hiatus is. So here's our pelvic bowl, and we're looking into it from above, and I'm going to remove this section here of pelvic floor muscles, that deep layer. So remember this here, this is the opening where those canals pass through, and this is called the levator hiatus. And so sometimes it can be stretched out and it can be widened, and pelvic floor muscle strength training can help to narrow that levator hiatus. Several studies have shown that pelvic floor muscle strength training can help reduce the symptoms of prolapse in a large percentage of the people, and it can also improve the positioning of the organs. A 2010 study of 58 women with pelvic organ prolapse showed that 74% noticed improved symptoms, and 19% even improved their prolapse stage by one stage. The pelvic floor muscle training in this 2010 study was supervised by pelvic floor physical therapists, and they had a whole regimen that they went through that is a very powerful model to follow. What about people with levator ani avulsions? Remember, that's where the pelvic floor muscles may tear right behind that attachment to the pubic bone. Can pelvic floor muscle training still help them? From the research that's available right now, that answer is yes for many people. For some people, strengthening the remaining fibers may be enough to compensate for the avulsed section and to provide support to the pelvic organs. So just because a small section has been torn, there's still multiple fibers that are attached. And the concept there is that by strengthening the fibers that are still there, that part of the muscle can kind of compensate for the part that's been torn. However, some people with levator avulsions, especially larger and more extensive avulsions, may not have success with pelvic floor muscle training alone. That being said, there's still some other options that we're going to talk about that have been shown to be quite effective. The big takeaway here is that pelvic floor muscle training, either on its own or in combination with some of the other strategies that we're going to discuss, has been very effective at reducing symptoms of prolapse in many people. People with severe or extensive injuries to the levator ani muscle group may not notice as much improvement with pelvic floor muscle training alone, but you'll never know unless you try. Pelvic floor muscle training is not a quick fix. It's not a pill that you can take and things just magically improve. For everyone, it takes months of consistent practice, ideally under the supervision of a skilled pelvic health physical therapist, to maximize your muscle potential. At the end of this course, we have a section that's specifically going to talk you through some of the basic pelvic floor muscle training exercises that we would do in the clinic. We also have a Power Over Prolapse coaching program, and in that coaching program, we are going to walk through a lot more in terms of pelvic floor muscle strength training, demonstrations, live training sessions, and just a ton of content there with real-time access to a live pelvic health physical therapist.